Good morning, everybody. So today, I figured we'd go through and do some YouTube stuff. Okay, so real quick, before the video starts, I just want to say that I am tired of doing these videos where I have to go through and fact check stuff for people doing these prompts. I see a lot of people using AI nowadays. AI is draining water, it's killing the environment, it's absolutely fucking awful for all parties involved. It's also destroying our planet at an unprecedented rate. Please do not use AI, please do not use ChatGPT for things like basic ass fucking questions that you can otherwise just find from anything like a search engine to find studies to verify information yourself. I have other parts in the video where I talk about the hallucinations for answers for AI. It is absolutely stupid, so please, just for the love of God, go through and read a couple studies, inform your opinions from scientific data. Don't rely on things like ChatGPT to do these answers. I'm not going to be doing any more videos in this style. 1, because it pisses me off. 2, because it's unreliable. And 3, because there's a million better ways to get the information that does not require us to use AI. Thank you very much. Have a good day and enjoy the video. Bye. Why I'm vegan. Okay, great. Awesome. Biggest lie about veganism. ASAP. Science response. Doesn't matter. Oh, it's Mike the Vegan. Holy, you're still doing content. Good job, buddy. Vegan versus carnivore women. We'll do that last. I think that, oh my god, all the OGs are here. A meat eater's case for veganism. I have a whole video I'm doing on Alex Connor. We will get in. I should just post the video I have about him. TLDR. Alex is a charlatan. I don't like him. My struggle with veganism. I'm doing a video where I should post mine because, yeah, it is depressing at times. Is Gen Z rejecting veganism? Don't think so. Don't care. How vegan diet affects your brain. I'm sure it's going to be really bad for you. ChatGPT destroys the vegan diet. No, it does not, actually. ChatGPT is actually in favor of veganism as a whole, as an ethical system. I have a whole video where it's I decided to bite the bullet and use some AI for this. Veganism can save the planet. Thank you, Earthing Ed. What happens to your body when you go vegan? Veganism reconsidered. Spirituality, the enemy of veganism. Earthing Ed is great. Vegans versus meat eaters. I have a response to this. Or at least one of these. Yeah, and this is something that I was going to actually go through. Crazy to see your speech and then you selling out and becoming a total... Oh, I just started doing it as medicine. Then why are you promoting wallets with dead animal skin and hyping them up? It's like some luxurious good that people should be buying to give you money. Why you're always tired? Why is Brian Johnson trending for vegan? Brian Johnson's not vegan, like by a mile. He still has so many supplements and things in his blueprint protocol that are derived from animals. So he is certainly plant-based, but he's not vegan. Oh, now, all right, but let's see this. ChatGPT destroys the vegan diet. Let me see this for sure.
Artificial intelligence is about to destroy the vegan diet. And in this video, I'm going to tell you how that...
The vegan diet? You mean a plant-based diet, not the philosophical position of veganism. For sure.
That's going to happen. I'm Dr. Ken Berry, a family physician. I've been practicing family medicine for over 22 years. And have been a practicing carnivore for over 8 years now.
Oh, you're a carnivore. Okay, sure. Let's go through the ringer, Doc.
Artificial intelligence, AI, chat.
Everyone knows what AI is, but thank you for the overview. I'm sure you're going to explain what ChatGPT is. That's an LLM that is able to provide answers based on a string of queries, and the information it generates gives you an answer with succinct and highly accurate. Blah, 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 blah.
GPT, Gemini, Grok are becoming very, very popular. They're very easy to use, and more people every day are using them to cut through the BS.
Okay.
That our life is filled with. And in this video, I'm going to tell you how artificial intelligence is just going to destroy the vegan diet argument. Now, I got this idea.
There's no vegan diet argument. What vegan diet argument is there? That it's healthier? That's subjective. That it's better? That's subjective. That it lowers your risk for innumerable diseases? That's factually verified by scientific literature.
from a tweet that my good friend Brian Sanders tweeted. It's actually a tweetor.
How about we go through and acknowledge the fact that plant-based propaganda, like, hold the fucking phone here. What's the propaganda for plant-based products? Animals don't deserve to die? How extreme. Meanwhile, you're telling people to eat like they're lions and cavemen and that's somehow healthful. You have to have like half a fucking functioning brain to think that that's legitimately going to be the most enticing thing. You're a lion. You're a fucking human being. You're a fucking Homo sapien. So, first and foremost, you might have brain damage, or you may have been knocked upside the rocker one too many times as a child, falling off the fucking stupid tree. But let's eschew that. Eat like cavemen. Cavemen, one, great moral system, bash each other's brains out, kill your young, die at an early age, for sure. On average, of course, I know there's going to be the whole X and Y and Z and element of people. Actually, that was just because of the low infant mortality rate. But yeah, I've heard it all. All right, and looked into it. For sure. Certainly would not want their quality of life either. Would you rather be the richest man 200,000 years ago or a pauper 10 years ago?
Or a tweet string or a long series of tweets connected in which he talks more about the environmental side.
I don't argue for the environmental impact, although it is certainly much more effective and better overall systemically if we are to reduce impact by not having animal exploitation be so drastically unfettered in its expansion. The best thing so hold on a minute, just go through ChatGPT right now and see about the calorie inefficiencies of having animal products versus plant-based products. Then also ask ChatGPT to then refine that for something like accounting for the non-arable land that we would not otherwise be able to utilize without animal products, and then still see how it falls short in a calorie equivalent between the amount of necessitated product to produce these. Like, for example, if we were to say that it takes 100 calories of X, Y, and Z to get beef, and then that beef produces X, Y, and Z amount. If we are trying to get 1,000 calories of beef, we can imagine that it takes 2,000 calories of corn, and the space that it takes to grow 2,000 calories of corn or X and Y and Z or soy or whatever the case, you can certainly find that it is much more efficient to just forego animals. But people could say that, well, these animals otherwise have these areas where they can eat the roughage that we otherwise would have to waste. They have to eat the grass in areas where we can't farm because it's non-arable, or there's just such low areas in which the exposed grass or ground or soil could be legitimately used for crops. You can remove all of the roughage as just pure waste. You don't even need to reutilize it. You can just chuck it all out as just waste, just trash products, and throw it wherever your landfill tickles your fancy. You could get rid of the small areas where it's non-arable. It's still insanely efficient to otherwise forego animal products. So the environment argument, still not the grandest thing in the world to me. Well, there's issues with transportation, and transportation that is largely used by the animal exploitation industry. Transportation that is largely used to help produce the antibiotics that we're now becoming antibiotic resistant to due to the animal exploitation industry and pumping the animals full of that. Due to the clear and insanely disgusting amounts of waste products produced by the mass series of animals, a part of the animal exploitation industry, for sure. The animal exploitation industry is a large, deleterious, and otherwise insidious pimple on the world.
Are cows killing the planet? Are we taking up too much land?
Are cows killing the planet? Certainly by taking up too much land, considering the fact that they are by far going to require more calories and more things overall instead of just having plants. And also the deforestation being caused by farming animals is likely going to be far more impactful than otherwise not doing that, for sure.
With animal agriculture,
yes,
he destroys those myths using
they're myths, huh? Okay, cite your sources.
AI. But in this video, I'm going to focus just on diet, nutrition.
You will get fucking schooled.
Health.
You will still get schooled.
Human physiology.
You will get schooled on that too.
So I want you to verify everything I say in this video.
I certainly will, and in real time.
By going to your favorite AI.
You're going to verify it with an AI. I will verify it with scientific literature and put it up on the screen for you as well.
And typing in the following prompt before you ask the questions. You're going to type in, I'm going to ask you some questions about diet and nutrition. I want you to ignore popular opinion and what popular influencers say, and only give me answers based on anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry. That's the prompt. You put that in first, and then you hit enter. And then ChatGPT, or whichever one you're using, will say, okay, understood, ask me your questions. And then you're going to ask it the following questions. Number one.
Why do we have to listen to your exact prompts for these questions? It seems like you could goad things into saying, what is the best XYZ?
When I eat meat, does it rot in my colon?
Does it rot in your colon? No, it does not. So, with rotting in your colon, there are a large amount of preservatives, sodium nitrate, as well as a myriad of other things that are used to make meat last longer. The time that it is taken from the fields where this animal was once alive, and then it is subsequently slaughtered, aka they kill the animal which you're eating, and then they process it, aka they hack apart the body, rip the muscle and flesh from it, and then put it into shapes that we are made more comfortable with, and then that is preserved and transported to your local supermarket. Or if you're gonna go and steelman this and say that the butcher kills it and then immediately sells it, then it would certainly have less. But that's not entirely the process of where you're just going to take a raw, entirely unprocessed animal product, as a large majority of the population does not do that, and consume it. Then no, it's going to go through, it's going to be chewed, which means it's going to have some amylase activity, although it's going to be very negligible in the impact that that has on the meat in and of itself. It's going to then be swallowed. It's going to go into your stomach. It's going to be broken down by your stomach acid. It's going to be turned into chyme to at least some degree, and then it's going to pass through your intestines. And then as peristalsis and everything else pushes it through, it then typically will be met with other, we will exclude fiber from the equation and say that if you are entirely devoid of plant foods, as more food is broken down and put through your body, then you may likely have some buildup of bacteria if there is nothing. But again, before you say, oh, that's not true. Bacteria are a decent thing. They can cause the proliferation of some very important being the key word there, environment factors that allow for a potentially deleterious or health promoting microbiome. Now, if you are entirely devoid of any plant roughage or fiber, soluble or insoluble, to allow for these animal products to get pushed through your body, then as they begin to acclimate, that can increase your risk for colorectal cancer, because having things sitting in your intestines for too long can increase inflammation. That's objectively not a good thing, to have a heightened score of chronic inflammation. But we can consider that you have obviously some introduction of other dietary supplements or a variance in food sources that would allow it to push the actual previously accumulated chyme and push it farther, so it's not sitting stagnantly. And that with peristalsis and everything else pushing it through, it's not going to be sitting in the same spot and then causing complication and concern. As long as you are consistently eating, the risk factors would likely be, albeit not very significantly, a little bit lower.
If not, then what actually does rot in my colon that is part of the standard American diet?
Standard American diet is by far one of the worst things in the entire world, barring the alternative of starving. The standard American diet is not anything we should promote. If anything, anybody eating anything other than the standard American diet will likely find that they are going to have leaps and bounds of better health markers. The standard American diet has led to so many chronic illnesses. This is clearly being framed in such a way that it is going to promote the carnivore diet as a healthful alternative. When, yes, practically everything in the world is a more healthful alternative than the standard American diet. That's not even indicative of how healthful the carnivore diet is. It's just that the standard American diet is so bad that it's laughable.
And I'm not going to wait for you to do each one. You can pause this video and do it. The truth is, meat does not rot in your colon. It's completely digested before it ever gets to your colon. What actually rots in your colon is fibrous vegetables. Number two, ask the AI.
Let's fact check him via ChatGPT. We'll get real-time launches here too, by the way. Oh, look at that, it's a myth. Oh, look at that. Instead of rotting, go through two processes. Fermentation, bulking and movement, adding bulk to stool and helping keep bowel maggots movable. Fiber can cause gas and bloating, especially if you eat a lot more of it suddenly. The gas comes from healthy bacterial activity, not decay or toxicity. What issues can happen? High intake without water, certain digestive conditions like IBS, and FODMAPs. Bottom line, fibrous veggies don't rot in your colon. They help feed healthy gut bacteria, support digestion, help prevent constipation and long-term diseases. You want to explain something I tried this claim? It's pretty interesting. See, nothing rots in your colon in the way that it implies. Meat is mostly broken down by stomach acid and enzymes and the amino acids and small peptides. Yeah, I have a video where I talk about peptides in another channel that I need to upload, but essentially we have these peptidases, which will help break them down further. Only small remnants, like certain proteins or compounds, remain in the large intestines. Their gut bacteria will break them down through fermentation and putrefaction. Normal metabolic process is not controlled by rotting. True. See, there we go. What is worth noting? When protein, including meat, is broken down, it can produce byproducts like ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, and certain nitrogen compounds. Nitrogen is incredibly important for allowing a total net protein attribution. If you have a higher total net protein balance via nitrogen, having a high nitrogen balance overall does lead to more conducive environments for muscular growth. But it's a pro. It's science. Meat is mostly digested and absorbed before the colon. When it reaches the colon, it is processed by bacteria and eliminated, not left to rot. The digestive system is designed to move material continuously, not store it long enough for harmful decay to build up. Yeah. So there we go.
Must I eat fiber in order to poop?
Your body is going to allow for it via peristalsis and the incredibly complex series of factors and movements to allow for it. My Siri is going off, no thank you. But no, you don't necessarily require fiber. You just need to have a consistency of high fat foods or high things like olive oil would be a great example. If you have quite a lot of butter, that will allow for more motility. But if you are entirely devoid of fiber, you will have less frequent bowel movements typically, because without fiber and all of these things which would otherwise allow for the movement of all of these broken down foods, then it is less consistent and you are using the restroom less frequently.
Many people believe this. Many vegans laugh at the carnivores saying we're going to die of constipation or get...
That's clearly an exaggeration. I don't know why you are acting so smug about it.
colon cancer, when in fact...
Yeah, you will... Okay, we'll ChatGPT your thing. You're going to get colon cancer. Let's ChatGPT this one more time. Look at that. 100 grams red meat daily is associated with a 15 to 20% higher relative risk of colorectal cancer. Processed meat show a stronger effect. Even smaller amounts can increase risk. This is a relative increase, not a guarantee. Your overall risk still depends on many factors. Why red meat may increase risk. Heme iron can promote formation of harmful compounds in the gut. High temperature cooking, grilling, charring creates potential carcinogens, just as they're called advanced glycation events or AGEs. Gut bacterial metabolism. Certain compounds can produce substances that may damage colon cells. Important context. Occasional assumption is unlikely to have a major effect. Risk is higher with frequent long-term high intake. Other factors also matter. Fiber intake, body weight, alcohol, smoking, and physical activity. Yes, the combination generally studied with a higher risk of colorectal cancer compared to a diet that includes added fiber. Can you provide me with scientifically verified sources for your claims? Oh, that's important. Also, nuanced claims that we discussed. I'll separate them where you see the evidence strongest. 2000 meta-analysis, 60 prospect studies, spread meat intake with a increased risk of colorectal cancer, also increased colon and rectal cancer individually from the physicians. Yeah, look at that. Crazy. 2025 too, so it's pretty recent. Another meta-analysis of over 1 million participants found a 30% higher risk associated with beef consumption in some analysis. Not all of them, so we got to get rid of this. It said some. It said some. It said some. It said some. Some, not all of them, not all of them. It's clearly meat, anti-meat propaganda. It's bullshit. Fuck this study. Doesn't matter. Fuck you. I'm a carnivore doctor. Blah, 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 blah. So we're going to skip this one because there's going to be some contention because he's a fucking dishonest. Large populations by Harvard. That one. That one. But it's usually the sentiment I see shaded there. But yeah, we can't trust Harvard for, reasons they're gonna put out there. But yeah, there's multiple studies. We won't take this one because it says the word some. We won't take this one because it's Harvard. There are consistent observational evidence of modest increased risk, especially with higher intake. Mechanistic data on how it happens. Yeah, and here are these ones associated between red meat consumption and colorectal cancer. A systematic review of experimental results. Evidence on fiber and colon cancer risk. Mechanism proposed increased stool bulk, faster transit time, production of beneficial short-term fatty acids. A large pooled analysis in JAMA network found that adjusting for other factor fiber is not independently associated with reduced risk. Look at that. Fiber was not independently associated with reduced risk. Crazy. It plays a supportive role in gut health, but it is independent effect on cancer risk is debated in epidemiology. So, right there, important nuances. Many studies adjust for fiber, and red meat risk often persists even after adjustment. Fiber does not fully cancel out risk, but diet patterns still matter. Some of the pooled studies show a little no association between red meat and cancer risk. Oh, your scientific sources is Reddit. Crazy. Review notes. Effects are often modest. Results vary by population, methodology, and confounding factors. Okay, good. That one's a little bit older, but we'll steel man him and say that there it is. They vary by population, methodology, and confounding factors. So if someone's having a lot of red meat, but maybe some fruits and veggies, could be a little bit better. This is not a subtle cause and effect like smoking is lung cancer. It's moderate probabilistic risk supported by multiple lines of evidence. Bottom line, red meat associated with increased colon cancer risk. Fiber, likely beneficial for it, but its direct cancer protection effect is inconsistent. Combination, high meat, low fiber fits the broader pattern of diets associated with a higher risk, and the interact is not also isolated experimentally. Crazy to think about. So yeah, also wrong. Swell.
Neither of these things is true.
Okay, buddy.
Now, sometimes with ChatGPT and other AIs, you have to ask follow-up questions. So
Which I did.
When you ask this, it will say, well, no, but all leading authorities recommend that you eat lots of fiber. And then you're going to ask a follow-up question. And
Do not appeal to authority. Give me scientific peer-reviewed evidence, which we did.
Say, what kind of research is this recommendation based on? To which you will be perhaps quite shocked at the answer if you currently believe that fiber is essential, which it also is not.
Fiber is not essential. That is factually correct. You won't die from a lack of fiber. Carbohydrates, fun fact, also not essential. Funnest fact. Now, that certainly doesn't mean that they don't have a role or a purpose, but essential refers to not being able to be not internally produced. We can create carbohydrates. We can create everything that fiber would otherwise benefit to us. Now, for example, when people might say like, oh, carbohydrates aren't essential to your diet, they are, factually speaking, not, because we can make them endogenously. We can go through things like gluconeogenesis. We can break things down and turn them into carbohydrates, for sure. People would just go through ketosis if they do not. Now, there's a whole lot of things. Maybe I can put up a couple pictures if I'm feeling like I'm a little frisky and I want to edit, which I probably don't, but I will just for this. There's like the whole Krebs cycle. There's an entire intermediary process behind the entire process of ketosis, where we can see that we get energy expenditure as a result of both. One's clearly more efficient, but if you don't want to be efficient, yeah, you can just deal with things like using fats.
Ask the AI about that as well. Number 3, can I get all the nutrients I need from plants alone?
Yeah, so here's the thing. You can theoretically get all of the nutrients required. However, there's no nutrient present in animals that can't be gotten through plants or any other diet via some plant or synthetic means. So if you want to say that, well, no, you actually can't get B12 without eating animal products. First and foremost, I would like to say that it's not a gotcha. We have supplements and we have fortified food products. Just because something does not exist as a possibility and the exact plant product in and of itself, however, instead of eating dirt to get B12, because we wash our foods and we typically don't enjoy eating dirt, yeah, we can just eat fortified food products. If the whole claim is that, well, that's not natural, neither is going to a grocery store and getting food. Neither is us having this debate on YouTube. If you're trying to appeal to that, books aren't even natural. So what the fuck's your point there, is my question. If you want to say that, well, no, objectively the question just was, can you get all of the nutrients that you need from plants, then it's going to be rate limited to only consuming plant foods, which veganism does not inherently tell you that you can only eat whole plant foods. It's saying that your diet should abstain from animal products as far as practical and possible, and also byproducts. It's not just animal products, but also animal byproducts as a way to get rid of it. There is no rate limiting step like you must only consume X and Y and Z foods like an animal based diet, because the carnivore diet still was fucking people up, which is why people have gone to the terminology of animal based. So no, it's not. But if you want to put it into this category, then can I get all the nutrients I need from plants alone by only eating plants, only eating those? That's a miscategorization of veganism. You clearly don't understand veganism. I don't know why you're on this weird journey.
Yeah, this is super common in many very prominent vegan influencers.
Give me 5 examples of them that have a credible background in nutrition.
Say, oh yes, now you must eat a very varied plant-based diet.
Yeah, you should, and that would include fortified foods and or supplementation.
You have to eat the rainbow, eat a lot of things from all over the world, things that it would literally be impossible to eat even 50 years ago.
Yeah, good thing we didn't live 50 years ago, Doc. I'm sure that's probably when you got your fucking educational degree, but things change. Life moves on. Grow up. You got fucking gray hair in your beard, on your shirt, everywhere. You can't be this old and this fucking brain dead.
Before we had modern refrigerated transport.
We've had modern refrigerated transportation for over 50 years. You act like that wasn't a thing in the 60s or the 70s. There's no way you actually think that.
Port over the oceans, but the answer is a definitive no.
You miscategorize veganism as only eating plants. So this is not indicative of a problem with veganism. It's a problem with you lacking competency in what you're arguing about. If you're going to argue that the sky is red, and you always argue the sky is red during sunset, then you'll be right in saying that, no, the sky is red. But if you say that the sky is always red, it's clearly not. It's not when the sun's not out. It's not when the sun comes up. If you're only talking about this time during sunset and you haven't defined your terms, then you're going to think that you're always right. I can't help that you're fucking stupid, Doc. I really fucking can't.
You cannot get all the nutrients you need from eating a plant-based diet.
Yes, you can. By eating a plant-based diet, you certainly can. For sure, there's fortified food products that are plant-based. There's, if you don't even want to go through supplements, you can get fortified soy milk. You can get tofu that's been fortified by it. If you don't want to have any fortified food, that's on you for being fucking stupid. But you certainly can. If you're saying that you can't get them from only eating actual whole raw plants, then you have a serious misunderstanding of veganism, and I can't help that you're fucking dumb.
Even if you pick the most nutrient-dense plants from every continent of...
Yeah, why are you only talking about only eating plants as if we don't live in an industrialized capitalist society? Before anyone loses their fucking rocket because it's the word capitalist, it is by far the best metric than which we are able to achieve the proliferation and the product expansion required for all lives to live, not even vegans. So, no.
Planet Earth. You will still have to take a handful of supplements, including B12.
Oh, I love how you're going to have to fucking read off the supplements that you take because you don't know this like the fucking back of your hand. You're going to need to take B12, is what he's going to say. He's also probably going to say something like vitamin D because he's fucking stupid and doesn't realize we can get vitamin D from the sun and that there's also fortified plant products that also have that as well. But you can't have fortified products because I'm setting an arbitrary barrier because I don't understand what the fuck veganism is. He's probably also going to say something fucking stupid like fucking vitamin K2, like MK7 or vitamin K in general because he doesn't understand that we can get that from our own gut bacteria and make sure that it proliferates very well. He's probably going to say something fucking dumb like ALA or EPA or DHA, and if he's actually fucking brain dead, he'll probably say something along the lines of you also need carnitine because you can't get that even though it's entirely endogenously made. He'll probably also say something fucking stupid like creatine, which I've made a blog post about, and every single blog post has been that, oh, you can make this endogenously with these 2 amino acids. So let's see whatever this dumb fucking charlatan's going to say about it. I can't wait to see something. You know, he might even throw in iodine because he's like, well, you're not going to eat seaweed, so if you don't have that and you don't have salt, which is iodine, you're going to have those problems. Let's see what he's going to bitch about.
Retinol, which is true.
Retinol, you don't need retinol. You can get preformed vitamin A from sweet potatoes. You can get that you need. What do you need? Retinol that you can't get from beta carotene. Explain. Preformed vitamin A versus fully formed vitamin A. We will convert that as much as possible, and then as opposed to taking something like retinol in excess, which can be highly tetragenic to pregnant women, and even eschewing that, if you have an excess of retinol, it can also lead to a series of complications because vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin. Even if we are to eschew all of those things and then work under specifically this vector of what you want, explain to me the difference or the heightened complications and concerns that would come from a result of having things like beta carotene then being broken down and assimilated into fully formed vitamin A. Explain this right now.
Vitamin A, and we'll get...
No, don't even say we'll get on to that later. Explain to me. I'm going to write this down, and I swear to God, if you don't do this, I'm going to bitch you out in every comment of every video because I've done blog posts about vitamin A, preformed vitamin A, and all the other bullshit behind it. Vitamin A, it does not need to be true vitamin A. Okay, our body has worked perfectly fine without true vitamin A. And you calling it true vitamin A? True in what sense? Explain that right now. Here we go. I can't wait to hear about it.
Get to another one about vitamin A in a second. Vitamin K2, MK4, D.
Love it, 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 love it. DHEA, crazy. Please do go on. Why can't I get it through things like chia seeds, flax seeds, flaxseed oil, anything? Why explain to me why I need this and some such quantity that I can't get it from any other plant sources that are otherwise going to be able to convert ALA, DHA, EPA into all these other things that I need. DHEA, also, are you unaware of the fact that we can produce DHEA endogenously? Question mark.
DHEA, heme iron, EPA.
Heme iron is not an essential nutrient at all. EPA, I literally talked about twice already. Heme iron is the version of iron that is found only in animal foods. We have non-heme iron. I talked about that with vitamin C. It's a source of iron. We don't need any particular form of iron. You can get iron from an elemental form from your cast iron skillet.
Yeah, taurine,
taurine and carnitine. Okay, so taurine also you can get from a myriad of other things. You can also, I know you don't want to do a supplement, but I also have talked about taurine in the past. I have a video on my Damon to State channel about it too. It's great as an intracellular osmolyte. It also helps with debilitating lower back pumps when you go to the gym. So if you're not taking a taurine supplement, you should generally take it if you're a gym going bro, whether you're not vegan or whatever. But carnitine, yeah, you're fucking stupid. You brought that up. Of course you would.
Carnosine.
Carnosine as well, again, not necessary. Creatine also brought that up. You're just reading off things that are commonly touted as like being only found in animal products, but the problem is when you bring up things that are typically only found in animal products, yeah, I hate to break this to you, doc. Maybe you missed a fucking step in your biology labs fucking 50, 60, 70 years ago, or however long it was, but as animals, which I love the distinction of, oh, well, we're animals too, so you shouldn't be mean to us. Fuck your dumbass ideas. I will follow that up by saying that, wow, imagine that. It's almost as if animals have a way to produce that. Crazy concept. We can also endogenously make things, which make them not a necessity. Why is that? Because with sufficient precursors, we can do that. Crazy, doc. How the fuck are you getting back to school?
And creatine.
Creatine, we literally make endogenously. I won't even fucking hesitate to just pull up my blog post. I cannot believe you're actually this fucking stupid, doc. Let's go right to howeverysupplementworks.com. Crazy. Look at that. April 25th, 2025. Literally over a year ago, and a mindless and easy. There's even more. Introduction to creatine supplementation. How creatine works. Mechanism of action. If you're wondering how it occurs, it's pretty simple. Your body will take two amino acids, namely arginine and glycine, to start the process. The arginine-glycine aminotransferase is then utilized to create guanidinoacetate and ornithine. And once you have ornithine and everything else, it just needs an enzyme called guanidinoacetate methyltransferase, which undergoes a form of SAMe. Once it's methylated, it turns into creatine. Then it goes through SLC6 transport to the creatine transporter little hub, and then once it goes in that, it can undergo some conversions and it gets shuttled in by GLUT4 if you're going to have an endogenous source of it, and then it's going to go into our muscles. How does it go into our muscles? It goes into dephosphorylation. You turn it from ATP to ADP. So no, it does not. Creatine's not necessary. You are fucking stupid.
You're going to have to take all those supplements.
No, you're not. You literally do not have to take any of those. If you want to optimize, you certainly could. But the only one I would argue that you should just take a supplement for regardless is B12, and that's because it's not a particularly vegan issue. There are plenty of people who consume the products of animal exploitation, colloquially called meat eaters, that also have an issue with B12 levels.
Plus iodine and probably several.
Plus iodine. How did I know he's going to bring up iodine? Bro's never heard of iodized salt. That's crazy.
Several more because you just can't get those.
There's no way this guy's like a legitimately medical doctor, right? Like, you're not a legitimate medical doctor? Holy fuck, you're an actual medical doctor. 3.67 million. You're fucking... Don't say it.
From eating only plants.
No one is eating only plants. What is your issue? All of the food products that we're consuming are wholly derived from a myriad of things. Largely a plant-based diet is going to encompass having some whole plants for sure. But like you, where our food comes from an array of places and things, where food has become processed, which I know you're probably sweating and shaking in your boots right now and punching the air and fucking bitching about the word processed. Not ultra-processed, although some ultra-processed things are very fucking scrumptious. For example, a delicious little, delightful little, yummy little energy drink. very processed, but food and even the meat that you're eating is processed, because anything that you do to cook and or allow for it to be prepared in some manner before it is being eaten wholly has a form of processing. Cooking is a form of processing food. So no, it is very clearly not the problem to use the word processed. Ultra processed is certainly demonized, and I think for good reason. But no, we have a myriad of processed foods which are sometimes even fortified additionally with some extra delightful things. But even if all of that wasn't constant and you didn't for some reason believe in fortified foods, just take a B12 supplement. That's really not that bad, doc. And if you're going to say that, well, no, just saying that you have to do that means that the diet's invalid. Why? So when people who eat the carcasses of animals need a supplement from their doctor, it's just not ideal. No. And also the dietary requirement of a supplement is not there. It is just a good idea.
Number 4, is plant protein just as good as animal protein?
Is it just as good as? Well, it depends on what you're comparing, and relatively speaking, and if you're going to use something like the general scale of the ease of digestibility of it. More times than not, animal protein is far more bioavailable, and I will say superior, than plant foods. It's a scientific fact. Now, just as good as animal, in what regard are you defining good? That is some hazy definitions. Good in the sense that is plant protein as good as animal products for giving you cancer-related risks? No, I would argue clearly not. Is it as good in terms of bioavailability of specific amino acids that would otherwise give for a favorable ratio for things like the rate of accrual for lean muscle mass? Probably not, considering there is some contention around the potential availability of things like leucine, which would otherwise be a rate-limiting step to trigger that. But you can also get that in sufficient amounts regardless. Now, if you're going to argue then as well for the case that, well, that's all I'm really looking at, it's just, protein, define the necessity to have a higher level of protein when we have a myriad of other protein sources within whole plant foods that could otherwise allow for us to have them. Also, again, there are plant-based supplements which are relatively fair game, considering most carnists, animal exploitation enthusiasts, will also take. But let's assume that we just have two populations and they're eating 100 grams of protein each. What's the total difference in their rate of accrual? Basically negligible. If you want, I'll put up a study right in front of my face and say, here you go. But no, very clearly the case that you're trying to posit this as plant protein bad, animal protein good. Good in what regards? Bad in what regards? You're purposely leading with a very hazy question. You should say for things like net protein accumulation, or an amino acid availability, or in likelihood of giving me increased cancer risks or inflammation risks.
For building human tissue and human muscle.
There you go. You finished it out because I let you. You should have said, you should have just let it go on for 5 more seconds. But no, I don't really feel like doing that, because I'm not going to give you the sleight of hand to skip over some shit, because I still need to hear about fucking true vitamin A. So for building human tissue and human muscle, it is certainly less inflammatory, but no, generally speaking, animal-based proteins will likely have a higher ratio of favorable amino acid profiles. Does it mean that you should consume them? Not necessarily. You can swap some things around, and you can consume different plant foods to have a basically negligible impact on the total performance.
A lot of vegan bodybuilders will say, oh yes it is, but what they don't tell you is that they take tons of amino acid supplements.
I don't take amino acid supplements. I used to just take steroids.
Especially lysine, methionine, leucine. You cannot get enough of those to
You're actually functionally stupid.
To become very muscular and bulky.
You certainly can, and I certainly cannot say that I did because of X, Y, and Z. I chose to take steroids, so I'm kind of out on the equation of using myself for example, but there are plenty of vegan bodybuilders who are natural, And for anyone who's wondering, well, me now, I don't take them as frequently as I used to. I have decided to back off quite a good bit. I'm no longer in my days of taking high testosterone, not taking an egregious amount of Dianabol or Masteron or Trenbolone or anything else. My regimen is now much more simple.
On a vegan diet, and that's why when you see honest vegans,
honestly, it'll placate us and acknowledge the fact that there are lower amino acid profiles in some plant foods comparative to animal foods, so we can use them as talking points. No, when people can interpret data correctly and just say that, yeah, this number is bigger than this number for these things that you're making comparisons on, you try to treat that as some gotcha. Like, I don't understand how this is a foreign concept to anybody. But you can say, here's chicken, here's quinoa. Quinoa clearly has more protein, right? And you go, no, quinoa does not clearly have more protein than chicken. Chicken has more protein content in a lower calorie allotment. You go, oh, yeah, that's right. And then someone goes to the vegan and says, hey, quinoa has more protein content than chicken. And the vegan goes, no, chicken has more protein content than quinoa. And they go, oh, okay. Like, it's factually, when you're making some comparisons, it's those things are just true. How is that a moving point? Like, then, well, chicken is better than quinoa in protein content, so you should only have it. Think of all the risk factors associated with it. Think about its own role in your health. And then first and foremost, you should be thinking which one causes more unnecessary suffering and death. Crazy. Chicken definitely causing suffering and death. And then also all of the crops that would then cause for that chicken to have feed, versus quinoa, where there's some amount of possible animal death as a result of its harvest. So this one directly causes intentional harm, suffering, and death, and then likely causes some amount of suffering, harm, and death. This one just likely causes some amount of suffering, harm, and death to creatures. This one guarantees it and has the possibility. This one just has the probable possibility.
On their YouTube channels, they're almost uniformly cachectic, meaning so slender that it looks unhealthy.
They're cachectic. They're so slender that it looks unhealthy. Like, what's the point in that? Way to just be a bigger, because you're a carnivore loser. Great, you built your entire internet presence off of being a charlatan of rats.
Because that's the body you get when you only eat plants and you don't take lots of protein supplements, amino acids.
What's wrong with taking protein supplements and amino? Are you telling me that the whole time that you were a medical doctor, that you had never once in your entire life found it appropriate to give anybody any supplements? You never found it appropriate to ever give anybody any medication? If some patient is fighting syphilis or chlamydia, you never referred them to anybody to get any medication or any supplements to ameliorate their problems ever once? You don't believe in them at all? That would seem like egregious grounds for mistrials. I don't understand where this bias against it is. If you hold the position that supplements and all these other things are inherently the worst thing for you and that you don't promote anybody have them, then what do we do for the X and Y and Z population that has a legitimate need for them? Not even vegans. Let's say that there are dying children because they've got like fucking scurvy or rickets, and they say that, oh, they can't eat, they need an IV tube. Are you going to say that, no, that's supplements, you can't supplement them unnaturally? Like, where's your fucking line, dude? Like, just riddle me that. Like, don't take protein supplements, don't take amino acids, don't take this, don't take that.
Acid supplements, branched chain amino acid supplements.
BCAAs being brought up in the good old 26 is crazy. Even if this video was made in 2025, which I don't think it is, but if it was, that's also still crazy. This guy is certainly out of the loop.
And lots of other supplements, including the kind of illegal supplement that many of the vegan bodybuilders take.
I'm not aware of any illegal supplements, but I am aware of illegal synthetic androgens, like 19-nortestosterone-based derivatives like decadurablin, and even some other on the periphery like alkylated oral steroids or methylated steroids. are certainly existing. If you want to be a pussy and not say the word steroids, you don't have to say that, yeah, they're taking steroids, but you can just say that, yeah, they're taking steroids, but you can just say that.
Number 5 is, does beta carotene from vegetables give you all the vitamin A you need? Because
the answer is yes. So if you're worried about what he's going to say, probably something to the akin of, hey, well, if you have these foods raw by themselves, you don't absorb it well enough because X and Y and Z, and there's some complications with its breakdown. You can steam carrots. If you're going to have beta carotene in innumerable forms, I'm sure I'm going to hear about this ad infinitum. Let's hear about it. If you only hit the specific quota, which is otherwise intended to be of such whatever arbitrary value he's going to erect, then we can say that, oh, well, if you're trying to hit your RDI exactly by this, it may be lower. Crazy that people may have different digestive values as a result of it. And having some amount of health literacy would otherwise be largely beneficial. Why is that? I'm going to make sure the alarm doesn't go off in a couple minutes here, but imagine that. If you have some amount of health literacy and then subsequently after the fact you look at something like, oh, well, there are going to be things that can improve the bioavailability of the foods that I consume if I just steam them, then yeah, it'll be higher in the amount that is required for those foods, for sure. But I want to see what he's going to say about it, because he's probably going to give the most lukewarm take about saying that anti-nutrients exist and therefore none of it matters.
You'll hear, and I have this Twitter argument all the time, there is no vitamin A in carrots or spinach.
Yeah, they're the precursors to it, which then our body... You have this argument a lot, and you've not learned the biochemical processes in which we create our own vitamin A.
Whatsoever. There's no vitamin A in any plant on Earth.
Holy fuck, dude. Why are you asking about biology when you don't understand how human biology takes in these things and creates other things? Bro's gonna say that vitamin D is just a vitamin and that it doesn't have any hormonal capacity at all next by the time I fucking get done with this video. We will endogenously create vitamin A internally. Endogenously means internally, by the way, in case you were confused by that. Let me just start spelling things out for you in little sippy cup chuggable bits, okay? We will endogenously create vitamin A when given sufficient resources for it.
And a lot of people are like, "What? You're crazy. How many hundreds of times have we all seen the infographic that carrots are a great source of vitamin A?"
They are a great source of the precursors for vitamin A.
Carrots contain 0 vitamin A. You can also ask the AI unit about that as well. What plants contain is beta carotene.
Yes, which I've just yapped about for the past 5 minutes.
Which humans have to convert.
Tonight's the night. And it's going to happen again and again. It has to happen.
It won't kill you to convert beta carotene into vitamin A. Our body will do it. In fact, it does it so well, we won't produce an excess amount of vitamin A, which could be toxic. Doc, are you aware of vitamin A toxicity? Go eat a polar bear liver right now. See what happens. Eat it in its entirety with your bare hands in one sitting.
Into retinol vitamin A. Now, some humans can do that okay.
But some of them have transcription factors, which otherwise make it a more difficult rate-limiting step due to some of the complications and their genetic polymorphisms that would otherwise lead to them having an impaired amount. That's a large variance within a large population of people.
But many humans can only convert about 17%. And some humans, depending on SNPs they have, they can barely...
SNPs are SNPs, by the way, single nucleotide polymorphisms.
Convert any beta carotene into actual usable vitamin A.
Are you also going to talk about cysteine and some of the SNPs to make that more difficult to be converted and leading to chronic inflammation? Are you also going to talk about methionine related conversion issues or the MTHFR and the CT677 whatever genes for the MTHFR regulation? Are you going to talk about all the SNPs, or really the ones that are pertinent to your argument here?
This is a huge problem.
Let me find out via ChatGPT, how huge of a problem is it? So, absolute worst scenarios possible. Let's say that you have a reduction of conversion by 30 to 70%. Let's say we also have low-fat meals, which reduces the absorption by 50%. So we can make that even lower. Combined, the worst-case scenarios, we stack a low-function BCMO1 variant, a very low-fat intake, and micronutrient deficiencies. Let's say that we go all the way to a conversion ratio of 30 to 1, which is roughly 27 milligrams of beta-carotene per day, right? And then this says that this is an edge case. It's not typical. The worst case scenario. So what do you have to do? So you can have 1 sweet potato, 1 cup of cooked spinach, a full cup of cooked carrots, 12, 23, and again, this is 1 cup, not a half cup. That's 12, 23, 28. Lo and behold, it's legitimately not that bad. It's not a huge problem. If you don't have all of those, have a sweet potato. There you go, doc. I solved your beta carotene crisis. Have a sweet potato.
For vegans. Number 6, can you
Not a huge problem for vegans. Literally just have a sweet potato.
get enough omega-3 fatty acids from a vegan diet?
Yes.
The answer is absolutely not.
Oh my god. I have to teach a grown man at least twice my age about conversion factors for a second fucking time. Okay, I'll do it. What are you going to bring up? That flax seeds, chia seeds, other seeds have such low ALA and EPA, X and Y and Z conversion factors that would otherwise make it so that, again, poor responders due to this. Go through your whole spiel.
And you're like, but I heard that flax seeds and walnuts were a great source of omega.
Yeah, imagine that, when even birds like them because they're good for your brain. Talk about the conversion factors, buddy. Just do it. Drop it right now. I will, through AI, artificially intelligize you.
3 fatty acids. They're a great source of ALA.
But ALA aversion doesn't convert to EPA and all the other factors that our body actually needs. And those are limited behind the steps in our body that would otherwise not be present if we didn't eat the fishes that do that for us.
They're not a great source of DHA or EPA, which are the actual omega-3 fatty acids that the human body can use and needs. Some people, again, can convert.
We're doing it. High ALA can help intake, but worst case conversion may require multiple teaspoons. For DHA, algae oil is vastly more reliable. Sources like flaxseed oil are inadequate and poor under conversion factors. So if you have poor conversion factors for ALA and you need DHA specifically, you can do algae oil. Generally speaking, most people will be fine with our EPA, but in worst case scenarios, you may have to do 2 tablespoons, maybe a few more. If you want to make a video chart, we don't need that. For sure. You don't need it.
ALA into EPA and DHA, but very many people, if they have the wrong SNPs in their genetic code, are very poor converters. Some people.
I like how this is also contingent on the fact that you assume that vegans are the ones that are unanimously more likely to have these than others.
People only convert 17%, 15% of the.
Most people only get L-carnitine, the thing that you talked about earlier, carnitine, and 5%, 10%. Great responders only have 15%.
The ALA that they eat from their chia seeds and their walnuts, only 15% of that gets converted into.
Let's see about how much of that chia seed would be a daily impact. For sure, let's do that. 1 ounce of chia seeds is far from enough in worst case conditions. Look at that. This is clearly impractical. Yes, for sure. Worst case conversions. It would be roughly adequate for most. 1 ounce of chia seeds can approximate EPA DHA under average conversion conditions. Under the absolute worst case scenario that we outlined above, that could certainly lead to it being much worse. Yeah, you'd need roughly a pound of chia seeds. No one wants to do that. If you have high omega-6s, that can suppress ALA from EPA DHA conversion, vicious cycle in which worst case high LA intake from chia seeds are reduced to poor conversion factors. 1 to 2 ounces of chia seeds a day can provide enough. ALA from chia seeds is insufficient, especially for DHEA if you have the worst case scenarios. Worst case scenarios, supplement with algae oil, DHA, EPA instead of relying on plant ALA. Crazy to think about.
To usable EPA and DHA.
So just take an algae oil supplement. It's fine.
The actual omega-3 fatty acids the human body's looking for. Number 6.
I also love this because this has also further strengthened my argument. Because I'm like, oh, well, no, this is more than sufficient. And now it's, oh, there's even better substitutes. Instead of just taking an algae-based DHA supplement, where we could have an algae oil that would be otherwise. Like, the algae oils are the fish oil vegan substitutes. But now, yeah, instead of even saying that you need to take one of these supplements, just get an algae oil and, you know, put that in your food. Done.
7 is the iron from spinach.
I don't care about the iron from spinach particularly. I care more about the iron as non-heme iron in all plant foods, which can be increased absorption via vitamin C. The conversion from ferric to ferrous iron is beneficial, and it helps ameliorate a lot of those concerns as well.
Just as good as the iron from red meat.
No, and good in what regard? Again, in what regard? In inflammation score, in associated risk for a myriad of other comorbidities that could be introduced as a result of consuming animal products? Certainly not. But is it as bioavailable? If you're not sure what the word bioavailable means, go to my blog, howeversupplementworks.com, where I break down what bioavailability means. Bioavailability in supplements and enhancing nutrient absorption. Crazy. That is bonkers. Vitamin A, D, E, and K, dietary fats for optimal absorption. Most certain minerals can compete for absorption in the gastrointestinal tract. Crazy work. Oh, look at that. I even talked about carnitine. Very low, 10 to 20% ingested is used. Bioperine to help with that. Quercetin can also help with vitamin C in some foods. Yeah, you can have vitamin D with magnesium, E and hornine, caffeine plus L-tyrosine, creatine, and betaine. On top of that, you can have iron and vitamin C in tandem to help with the conversion factors there within. But yeah, read this, bioavailability and how things can help with themselves by working synergistically.
Meat. Many vegans would say, yes, absolutely.
Many vegans would be dishonest then. If you're trying to say that if it is as good as meaning bioavailable, they're misinformed.
Knows that that's a fact because that vegan influencer that I follow and love, because he's really cute, he said,
I don't care if the vegan influencer anyone follows is cute, whether it's a nice muscular young man or X and Y and Z female influencer. If they both look good, they both look good. That's awesome. Should follow hot people more often. That's how they make their money. But if they're giving out wrong information, yeah, they should be corrected by it, by everybody. I don't think anyone stands that scrutiny. You're not absent of that. Other vegan creators on this channel are also getting scolded for things that I don't think is entirely accurate.
That it was just the same, so I believe it is.
Well, you shouldn't blindly believe everything you read on the internet or hear on the internet. Case in point, this fucking guy.
Well, you can actually now verify that with you.
You've been able to verify that for years. People just don't do that because they can't read. And you're preaching to a choir of uneducated idiots.
Your PhD level intelligence that...
I feel like this is by far one of the funniest things in the world. If you actually have a PhD and this is the intellect that you're using, you need to go back to school and make sure that you fully understand human chemistry. Just general biochemistry.
You have in your pocket, in your cell phone. Pull it up, take it out, open up.
Wait, why didn't you do that for like the entirety of this whole fucking thing? You could answer your own questions and make them not as ambiguous, and I would have much less of a harsh time on you.
ChatGPT or one of the others and type this question in. What you'll find is that the non-heme iron...
Yeah, the iron that does not come in blood...
that occurs in plants like spinach is not nearly as well absorbed or as usable as heme iron.
Both words you're looking for are bioavailable.
That's found in red meat and other plant sources. There are many also compounds in plants.
There are many also compounds that are anti-nutrients. Shut the fuck up. I already know what you're going to say.
Like phytates, oxalates, lectins that prevent...
Steam them. Steam them. Steam them. There you go. Steam them.
The absorption that actually bind to the non-heme iron and prevent your body from absorbing it. So although it is true, spinach is full of iron atoms locked up in non-heme molecules that are bound with oxalates, lectins, and phytates. And
steam them and have vitamin C.
So most people can only get about 5%.
Separate these things by enhancing their absorption very easily. And you can make it genuinely better by a mile. But let's see here. Most people can only get about 5%
of the actual iron in spinach out of the spinach when they eat it. Their body just doesn't have access to it. Number 8, plant-based diets are the best diets for your hormones.
I'm really gonna have to do this or not? Yeah, okay. What do you mean best diet by your hormones, buddy? Hold on. Let me get like a water. We'll do this. We'll go through the whole kit and caboodle.
Hormone balance.
We'll go through it. Let me get a water. All right, let's balance your hormones. Why are your hormones out of balance in the first place? Second off, how do you know that? Is your estrogen too high if you're a man? Is it too low if you're a woman? What do you mean? We're going to talk about cholesterol, aren't we?
If you remember in What the Health, they talked about a taco study where...
I don't watch What the Health, so I actually have no idea what you're referring to.
Where men's testosterone just tanked if they ate a burrito or a taco with meat.
That, to me, intuitively seems dishonest because of the systemic circulation of fats in their bloods and the binding of the essential nutrients that would otherwise cause it. Why would you do that postprandially and not fasted? Is my question.
In it versus just a bean burrito or bean taco. This is completely and verifiably false.
Yeah, I would say that is unfair insofar that is a look at their normative testosterone levels.
It is demonstrably true that a diet that contains meat and other animal products will actually help balance your hormones.
Provide evidence.
And
balance your hormones, how so? It would seem to me that the series of complications and concerns as a regard of chronic inflammation could otherwise, and people could say that, well, actually no, it prevents chronic inflammation. No thank you, Siri, don't need to do that. But let's go through the pipeline here. Balance your hormones in what regard? Are you going to be at a point where you have a high caloric restriction and only consuming animal products, because caloric restriction will blunt your HPG through a series of cortisol implications, and having heightened levels of cortisol will then cause for some concern there. If you're saying that we are at a slight surplus or at caloric maintenance and we don't have an increase from caloric restriction of cortisol, then you can try to make the argument that the inflammation from meat has been eschewed via some vectors, and that you don't have heightened inflammation and you don't have anything impairing your hormone production. And otherwise, if you were normatively low in testosterone, that you can see an increase in your testosterone by going back to a baseline. You can certainly see a transient increase in either category. If you're going to compare things like testosterone levels between men, you can find within literature, pop it up on the screen here for you, it's equivalent. It's equivalent between populations. It depends on what you're looking at and what you're looking for and why. Finding that it will help balance out your hormones is not something indicative of only being able to be done with animal products.
Help raise your testosterone.
Yeah, let me hear your evidence.
Whether you're a man or a woman, it's not going to raise it to an unhealthy level. It's just going to raise it back up into the optimal level.
You said the word optimal. Optimal. I hate that word more than I hate most things in life. Optimal how? What do you mean by optimal? Optimal for strength and performance, for fitness, or within a normative range that would otherwise lead to no complications, concerns, and for a general sense of well-being and accomplishment to be achieved. Define optimal. Again, another generalized buzzword.
This is verifiable.
Verify then. Please do. Or do you want me to put the onus on us? Okay, for sure. Let's find out. Okay, so I want you guys to note this too. Total testosterone does not genuinely matter. The only thing you really want is free testosterone because of sex hormone binding globulin, SHBG, and even differences from SHBG. Things like albumin and other binding proteins also do have an impact with the free testosterone, which is able to have transcriptional effects. So, in terms of having more testosterone, does not matter. The only thing you're genuine now, that's not to say that bound testosterone has no biological role. That is certainly not true, but it is significantly less impactful than free testosterone. Having bound testosterone is going to only have some periphery of biological implications, and it's practically negligible. Now, SHBG is significantly higher in vegans. If you wanted to reduce that, then what you could do is have something like boron, which I have a video on Damon Desade, where you can see that boron helps with that as well. Now, there's no significance in calculated free testosterone, the biologically active form, or estradiol. So that's very important to note as well. Plant-based intake versus testosterone. Plant-based foods content was not a significant predicator of serum testosterone levels after a disagreed agent BMI. True. That suggests having more plant-based diet in general did not correlate with markedly higher or lower testosterone. Very true. Total testosterone is not the whole picture. Very true. Testosterone bound to SHBG, which is not bioavailable. True. When SHBG is higher, as seen in some vegan cohorts, free testosterone can be similar, if not total higher. True. No strong consistent deficit in testosterone for vegans or vegetarians across these populations. Vegan and vegetarians not consistently result in lower free testosterone compared to mediators. True. Some humans show higher total testosterone in vegan men, but not translate into higher free testosterone. Very true. Anthropometric factors, age and BMI are predicators of testosterone levels dependent on diet patterns. NHANES basis on BMI and age had a stronger association with testosterone plant-based diet scores. True. So again, there is no real appreciable difference between eating meat and not eating meat for testosterone. So certainly not your strongest argument. Your strongest argument would have been to say that, well, these animal-based foods have cholesterol, and cholesterol turns into testosterone via the conversion of these factors present in your liver to undergo steroidogenesis, and by producing more steroid hormones like testosterone, you can see that you would likely have a higher level. And then I would have gone back to that study anyway.
Number 9, do I need to eat fiber to feed my microbiome? And will my microbiome die if I don't eat any fiber?
Your microbiome can't die. Wait. No. Hold on. I'm thinking here. Don't let me think about this. Can you feed your dog rat poison? Yes, you can. Is that beneficial? No. But can you feed your dog rat poison? Of course. Can you feed your microbiome? Yes, you can feed it anything that you eat. Can you eat anything? Of course, you can eat anything. You can eat molten lava. You could eat chemotherapy radiation pills every single day. Is that going to have a positive or negative impact? That's not the question that we're asking. Will your microbiome die if you don't eat any fiber? Now, see, that's what we're asking. Will it die? Die in what regard? Technically, all of the cells in your body die due to programmed cell death through apoptosis. However, are there things that are going to largely benefit the proliferation and general health outcomes as a result of it? That's up in the air. Now, are there going to be deleterious things that you can do? Of course, for sure. That's not the question we're asking. It's just, will it die totally? No, it will not die. Your microbiome as a whole will not die unless you do something entirely drastic, like nuke it with antibiotics or nuke it with things like chemotherapy, radiation pills. But even then, it won't entirely kill it, because you do need your microbiome to have a proliferation of bacteria and other gut health enzymes, which would allow for you to continue to break down foods and everything else under the sun. This is a poor question. I will stop my rant to say that this is a poorly designed question.
Many people believe this is true, and they stay.
Many people have a health literacy rate that is Many people have a literacy rate that puts them into unfathomably poor level. That's why they go to influencers and they see the thing like a doctor. Clearly he must know what he's doing. There are plenty of very knowledgeable doctors. It seems to me like you ask very many questions. And you know what? You can even just peg the whole, wow, you just told people to steam it, but look at all these issues with things like steaming and X and Y and Z and all these problems. And even then, you didn't solve the problem other than saying that you should take a supplement. Yeah, you should. Could you? Yes, you could ameliorate that issue very easily. How easily? I don't want to do that. Then take a supplement, for sure. You're relying on supplements, therefore it's not a healthy diet. Sure, if you're going to say that having any supplements means it's not a healthy, sustainable diet, you can do that, and you can choose to do that. That would be your choice to do that. Then where are you going to get all these other nutrients? By planning and diversifying, and X and Y and Z. Again, instead of flax oil, maybe you do algae oil. Maybe instead of X and Y and Z, you do elemental P. Maybe instead of steaming and vitamin C, you do elemental P. Or for areas you just don't want to enact the extra labor, you take a supplement. It's crazy. We live in modern times. Crazy that it has been, we're in the year 2000. We've been here for over 26 years, and we're still having this rudimentary debate about the fact that you shouldn't take things that are readily available and incredibly cheap. Hold on a minute here. Let me go and fucking, at the end of this, we'll see some of the flaws in the carnivore diet and then see what you would have to realistically do. And then map out that whole thing and then see how feasible that is. Because for all the flack that I'm defending here, you seem to be just pushing a lot of the onus onto me for the series of things that you have contentions for and qualms about. But apparently there's just not a lot of qualms about the carnivore diet, despite all the other people I've seen online quitting it. Carnivore diet, certainly not having some issues. Maybe people need to be more animal-based, like even Paul Saladino, the biggest shield for the whole thing. Interesting. Maybe there are a series of things that otherwise you would have to supplement in the carnivore diet. And crazy if you have to supplement for some things, or maybe just not be entirely carnivorous, that there are some contentions and concerns for. Crazy. It's almost like when you have this diet instead of a philosophical position that would otherwise allow for you to have some variance, that you can't strongly adhere to a specific dietary pattern, that there's some contentions and qualms and concerns. Crazy to think about. However, there's nothing in the philosophy that says that, yeah, don't take anything that isn't beneficial towards you, as opposed to the carnivore diet, which seems to have a very strict set of criterion. Crazy.
Make their life on it. This is completely false. Your microbiome will not only survive, but it will thrive.
Provide evidence for thriving.
Thrive on a meat-heavy or a meat-only diet.
Let's see about the microbiome. First, we'll define microbiome in ChatGPT. Then we will go through and ask about the implications that red meat and meat itself has on intestinal gut health. Okay, so here we go. Neat. Microbiome, all microbes, and their genetic and functional influence given everything's visual diagram. Nope, don't need that. Higher inflammation and reduced resilience of the gut ecosystem. Reducing protective effect on colon cells and anti-inflammatory signaling. Reduce SCFAs may compromise gut barrier integrity, potentially increasing intestinal permeability. Some studies suggest that a meat-heavy diet may. Now, some studies, can you cite these studies? Look at that. It goes down, but it helps with protein, and it increases inflammation. Meat-only diet tends to reduce gut diversity, lower benefit for SCFAs, and increase protein fermentation byproducts. While short-term effects may be tolerated, long-term exclusive meat diet can negatively affect gut health and inflammation markers. Can you cite sources for your claims? Incredible peer-reviewed scientific studies, systemic reviews that support claims about can affect the gut microbiome, microbial metabolites, and health-related relevant outcomes. Well, but you see, it remains understudied and less definitive, so they have yet to see any changes in comprehensively studied large controlled research. I would argue that that would be unethical to do to people given all the risk factors, but sure.
This has been
Thrive is the antithesis of what they're stating.
Verified by thousands of carnivores who have sent in a stool sample
Carnivores with poop samples
and had their microbiome analyzed by a neutral third-party lab.
Neutral third-party lab, but are they controlled in what all the carnivores had?
There's no truth in this whatsoever. Fiber is not essential. You don't need it. Neither.
Fiber is certainly not essential in the strictest term and its approximate totality in its use. Correct. You don't need it. Also correct. You technically don't need fiber. Like you technically don't need carbohydrates. However, all of the evidence we have been given throughout the years shows that they are beneficial.
Does your microbiome.
Without having the increased stressors like red meat, it certainly does better.
Number 10, does a plant-based diet alkalinize my body? Oh,
Holy fuck, you can't be serious. Holy There's no way. Did you get this from a forum in like 2016? I remember hearing this like a decade ago. What the fuck is wrong with you? Let me hear what you have to say.
Or conversely, does a meat-heavy or meat-only diet make my body acidic?
The answer to both is no.
How many times have you heard that? And keep in mind, you
Inflamed, correct. Acidic, our gut pH is entirely tightly regulated by a myriad of factors where that would be laughable.
You hear this from well-intentioned, well-meaning vegans.
Vegans, shut the fuck up, okay? I cannot imagine trying to take weak anecdotes from uneducated people and positing that as like the truth status.
Believe this to be true, and they're trying to help you improve your health.
Yeah, they're trying to improve your health, and they're doing it with the best of intentions. And what's awful is they're getting the right answer with the wrong formula. Eating plants and having an adequately planned whole foods, plant-based, vegan diet with appropriate supplementation is by far better for you than animal products in a carnivore-only diet. For sure.
But this is absolutely false.
Yeah, both claims are false.
Any doctor who's ever worked in an intensive care unit or
Yeah, any doctor or anybody with any amount of scientific background or anybody that's taken any nutrition class or anyone who understands anything about the gut and the body will certainly know that this is a bunch of fucking hogwash.
Emergency department who's drawn arterial blood gases on a patient. They know how tightly the acidity and the alkalinity of the human blood is controlled.
Yeah, and if it's chronically elevated, then it's highly, like almost guaranteed to be a problematic series of traumas to the body where there is a massive series of complications outside of regular diet. This person, if they have a heightened level of X and Y and Z, they're probably undergoing like kidney failure or sepsis, or maybe someone's been shot. There's no normative reason whether or not you're eating animals or you're eating plants that should ever change, that like at all, bar nothing. If that's changed, you're probably dying. I would just wager you're probably dying.
The intracellular fluid, the extracellular fluid. So then the question becomes, what part of my body becomes acidic if I eat a carnivore diet? What part of my body becomes alkaline if I eat a plant-based diet? The answer is your urine, and only your urine.
Yeah, and that is due to the excretion of things present in urea. Things like lower or higher values based on what is being excreted, for sure.
Because your kidneys are one of the organs that
filters out excess waste products, for sure. And by having X and Y and Z, it'll be lower or higher based on how much you have to filtrate throughout your globule.
Is used extensively by your body, the lungs are the other, that basically protect your pH balance of your
yeah, also shout out to him for actually shouting out the lungs there. Good job.
Of your blood, of your intracellular fluid, and your extracellular fluid. All of these things are protected. You cannot eat enough broccoli to make your body alkaline. True. You cannot eat enough ribeye to make your body acidic. It is literally impossible.
It is literally impossible. We do agree there. That is scientifically verifiably true. That is actually impossible. Anyone that's saying otherwise is just beyond stupid, for sure.
This is one of the dumbest myths that anytime you hear...
Yeah, if you hear this from anybody, you are dumb. We are in agreement there, Doc. Only stupid people say that, or highly uneducated people say that, for sure.
A vegan doctor say such a thing, they've either forgotten their basic physiology,
or they're selling you something and they're a snake oil salesman, for sure.
Or they never learned it to start with.
True.
Number 11, does eating red meat cause inflammation?
Yes, objectively, through a series of verifiable and unrelenting studies, the increase in inflammatory risk factors goes through the roof with consuming red meat.
In my body.
Yes.
How many vegans believe that meat is...
How many reputable scientific doctors who are not vegan also have purported that?
Is inflammatory? Well, when you actually look at the research...
Please provide research indicating otherwise. Even all of the studies that we just pulled up to go back to your other claims also have showed that demonstrably to be the case.
This has never been proven.
It has been proven through all meat diets lead to lower overall microbial diversity, reduced populations of bifidobacterium, lactobacillus, and other beneficial fiber-fermenting bacteria. Lower diversity is associated with higher inflammation and reduced resilience of the gut ecosystem. So, if you're going to then say that, well, no, increasing higher inflammation due to the lack of fiber, not from the actual red meat itself. However, also not true. You're also going to have a peripheral, though not totally substantial, increase of ammonia. Let's go in here and dig into this further. Excess heme iron can catalyze and form a reaction of ROS in the gut and other circulation. ROS can activate immune pathways leading to mild systemic inflammation. Mechanistic, some studies show why this might partly explain why CRP is moderately higher in red meat consumers. Advanced glycation ends in lipid oxidation. We talked about AGEs earlier. And AGEs are the advanced glycation enzymes that are otherwise going to be caused by burning meat. It's the char on it, and those are going to cause free radicals, which then are going to lead to systemic damage due to oxygenated species being some complication in it. Oxidized lipids, we already talked about that. The oxidizing fats can promote endothelial stress and immune activation. These compounds can circulate systemically and slightly increase CRP and IL-6. Saturated fat content. Diets in high saturated fat, which is found in red meat, and other things as well. Bacon has saturated fat, butter, saturated fat. They can alter gut microbiota, increasing pro-inflammatory metabolites, which we were talking about earlier. Activate TL4 on immune cells, triggering cytokine production, which is IL-6 TNFA. But they said that it is reduced. So mechanistically, it would do that, but why doesn't it do that in practice? There's a question about that. Effects are usually modest unless the intake is very high and paired with low fiber, which is exactly what the carnivore diet does. Mechanistically, very bad. Microbiome-mediated metabolites. High meat intake, especially when low in fiber, shifts gut microbiota towards protein fermenting and bile-tolerant bacteria. Consequences include high TMA to TMAO production, higher ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, and phenols. Some of these metabolites can trigger low-grade inflammation in the gut and circulation. Are not, but that would just be nice and say that most of you guys are like really jacked. So enjoy. Even when adjusting for BMI, small residual effects of meat remain, likely through mechanisms above, but much of the association may be indirected by adiposity, which can be mediated by just not being as overweight via having excess fat. Processed versus unprocessed meat. Processed meats like sausage, bacon, deli meats show a stronger link to CRP and other inflammatory markers than unprocessed meats, like the contributors, the high sodium, nitrates, and preservatives, and advanced processing byproducts, for sure. Heme iron, radical oxygen species formations, mild systemic immune activation. Cooking-derived AGEs, oxidized lipids. Charring your foods and cooking them on the grill is likely going to stimulate inflammatory pathways like CRP and IL-6. Saturated fats alter gut microbiomes and TLR4 signaling, which increases cytokine production. Gut microbiome metabolites, TMAO, ammonia, phenols, which increase the risk for low-grade inflammation. Adiposity, being fat, has a series of problems as well. Processed meat compounds, sodium nitrates, and preservatives have a higher CRP association. In summary, higher meat intake can modestly increase systemic inflammation, primarily reflected in CRP. The effect is largely influenced by type of meat, cooking method, fiber intake, and body fat. Processed meats with low fiber diets showing the strong negative inflammation rationale. If you want to create a visual diagram, you don't need that.
And indeed is physiologically impossible. Just like I said earlier about your body's fluids pH, you cannot eat enough red meat, even ultra-processed red meat, to cause inflammation in your body. Fluids pH, you cannot eat enough red meat, even ultra-processed red meat, to cause inflammation in your body. Meat is the most uninflammatory food that a human being can eat.
This is the problem with just saying bullshit. It takes me so much additional reading and additional literature and explaining the mechanisms by which this happens. I have to do like 10 times the amount of fucking work to undo the shit that he's saying, so you guys can understand mechanistically why this is wrong. And then he's just going to provide some weak anecdote to be like, well, this person ate X and Y and Z, and then look, 2 days later he was perfectly within normative range. And it's like, wow, these things seemingly contradict. What's wrong? Well, there's a large variance in what can happen within the timeline of the testing. There's a series of complications. And like, even when I was being fair earlier and saying that, oh, well, there's a reduction in his testosterone after he had that food, it's like, well, why would you make someone take a blood test when they have a high amount of circulating saturating fats, which is otherwise going to blunt an accurate measurement of these things? And that's not even talking about the other series of other factors that could lower his testosterone levels via the ingestion of those foods temporarily as a result of it. It's just being unfair. But he doesn't care about being unfair in X, Y, Z, and element of P reason, because he's just fucking doing this.
Now, if it's an ultra-processed meat and contains
No.
to cause inflammation in your body. Meat, eat enough red meat, even ultra-processed red meat, to cause inflammation in your body. Meat is the most uninflammatory food that a human being can eat. Now, if it's an ultra-processed meat and contains lots of things that are not meat, like flour, like wheat, like soybean, like sugar, like starch fillers, then yeah, that might cause some inflammation. But again, it's not the meat doing that. It's the plant things that were added to the meat to make it ultra-processed and make it much cheaper for resale. Number 12, are vegan diets superior for mental health?
I've never heard this one. I'll just say no. I'll just say no. Why? Because that sounds entirely fucking unfounded. And also, dealing with people like you that are this intentionally dishonest, and I'm hoping you're just intentionally being dishonest and you're not actually this stupid, it certainly is a stressor to me to have to realize there's people like you putting out legitimate propaganda like this, which has verifiably been true, false, I don't know how many fucking times, and I had to do this. I had to do this whole fucking thing because of that. So it certainly is a nuisance. Is it conducive for my mental health to subject me to having to correct people twice my age? Not necessarily, but it's got to be done. Is it good for your mental health to have to see, some things that are so egregious, like puppies having their skulls caved in by sticks, watching pigs being beaten? Is it conducive for your mental health to gas or small animals being tortured ad infinitum? No, it's not. Why? Because those are fucking horrible things. Like, these are the things. I'm loading it up right now. Here's your warning. Those are all of the things that you are going to have to deal with and look at and decide that's totally fine. That's totally worth a steak or hamburger. And then needing to see that is just fucking awful. And if you want to be like, oh, you're being a pussy because it's natural. It's a part of life. No, okay? This is natural. For sure. You know what's not natural? Going out in camouflage wear clothing and getting some rifle, which has been, again, artificially created by man to allow you to do all these things and just, oh, look at that. Now I'm natural. I'm a real man. I'm hunting my food. not natural. Again, it's part of society. You're also not natural. You're watching this fucking video. You're doing all these fucking things that are otherwise entirely not within the realms of what is natural and normative back in the caveman era days. But no, even that, like the difference even between something as barbaric and unnatural as this is leaps and bounds different. And do you know what typically people are getting their food from? Almost a resounding majority of human beings. Yeah, why? Because it is mass factory farming where billions with a B, billions of animals are killed for these food products. And for anyone who says that, well, I got a local butcher, still dealing with this for sure is going to be at the forefront of some people. And another thing that I talk about it's that people will say that, well, I get my meat from a local butcher, and then they go out to restaurants anyway. They go out to other places that otherwise have these things, that otherwise, yeah, you're going to be paying for animals to be killed in a similar capacity for sure. You fundamentally have to imagine that you have been brainwashed by some incalculably cruel force that has been perpetuated throughout society to allow for this sort of thing to happen. If none of those bother you, you may be legitimately psychopathic.
Or you could say, will eating a vegan diet improve my mental health or my mental disease? My
mental disease. No, vegan diets are not conjured up to reduce any negative externalities of like mental health origination. Anyone that says that it cures your depression is fucking stupid. Go outside, touch grass. That's probably better for your mental health and your general overall sense of well-being than eating plants. And carnivore diets don't do that either. Diets aren't magic cure-alls for mental illness. If you think that, you're stupid.
mental health disorder. Will eating vegan help that?
No diets do.
There are many, many influencers out there that will say, oh, yes, absolutely.
But they're stupid. And anyone that claims that is also pretty fucking stupid. Now, you can be in depressive episodes, for sure. You can feel unmotivated, for sure. There is certainly a complex interaction between things like your gut health and your overall well-being and mood. But for serious mental disorders, you should be working with licensed therapists or psychologists in finding the results that are leading to that. And if it's just that, oh, well, I have a dysregulation of X, Y, and Z and elemental P, but all of a sudden these things just went away because I magically did these things. Those are the scam artists and the snake oil salesmen you need to watch out for. If someone's telling you that having 16 sticks of butter a day, or that by eating 15 pounds of kale a day, you're not going to be depressed and you're going to be in the best shape of your life, they're beyond fucking help, and you should avoid them like the plague because they are selling you something. They are selling you something, and it's probably a course, or it's probably their coaching, and it's beyond ludicrous. Don't ever fucking trust those people.
But here's the problem with that. Remember those vitamins and minerals and other essential or conditionally essential things I talked about earlier, like
Never said conditionally essential.
B12, DHA, EPA, cholesterol.
Cholesterol is not essential. We will make our own cholesterol.
Carnosine, carnitine.
Carnosine and carnitine we will also make endogenously.
Creatine.
We will also make creatine and I pulled that up earlier. I'm not getting back into these.
Your brain needs all those things.
Your brain does need all those things. That's why our body makes it.
To function properly. Okay?
Yes, our brain does need all these things to function properly. Okay? For sure. That's why our body will make it.
Your brain also needs a great source of fat.
Yes, and you can get fat. Like, bro, have you never heard of olive oil?
Your diet, and most plants are not a good source of fat. Some contain fat, but none of them contain the fat in the right fatty acid ratios that the human brain's looking for.
Oh, and this is always tying it into mental health. Yeah, just forgot. Walnuts don't have any fats the brain's like. Walnuts totally aren't good for your brain.
This is why when we have someone with mental health disorders who's currently eating a vegan diet convert to a carnivore diet, they
convert to a carnivore diet. Gotcha.
Report that their mental health condition improves greatly or in many cases, goes completely away. It's like that.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, jeez. Hey, guys. Oh, boy. Here's a cure for everything. Let me sell you on it. I go to his website. Actually, hold on. I will finish this video. I will go right to his YouTube channel. I'll go to his website. I'm sure he's got some carnivore-friendly supplements. For sure. Ancestral health. Ancestral health. I did not just see that. Ancestral health. You know, this was a big ancestral health guy, Liver King. Board certified family physician and proper human diet. PhD is your roadmap. Proper human diet. With over 20 years as a family physician, I've treated thousands of patients using real practical advice, grounded in research, and ancestral wisdom. Oh, fuck. Ancestral wisdom. Oh, I'm not a naturopath. I'm an ancestral wizard. Buddy, I'll download your fucking guidebook and we will go through this another time. I love this. The Proper Human Diet book. Download my free guide now. For sure. Give me it. Oh, I don't want to give you my shit. Oh boy, I'm gonna do something great here. Hold on a minute here. Let me fill this out appropriately. Let me do this. Okay, so let's do this. My name, Damon Desade. I can't even do my tab over. Great, nice website, buddy. Damon Desade. Paste. Sure. I'll give you my phone number. Download my free guide below. Oh, shucks. I'm going to be a part of your mailing list? What a bummer. Anywhoots. Let's get into this. I will download this for later. Thank you oh so much. Oh, but yeah, we got that out of the way. So, I don't know. These just fix your mental health. Crazy.
They don't even have it anymore as long as they keep eating lots of fatty red meat. And
it improves their mental health, you say.
It's because of the nutrition found in the meat. Nutrition that is lacking in the plants.
What nutrition lacking in the plants? Besides that B12 that you just can't get, of course. Because that one you got to supplement. And, you know, like I'm alluding to earlier, probably iron if you're a girl. But your brain needs them. So, all the other essentials, not essential.
But wait. Number 13. Won't I live longer if I eat a vegan diet?
You could be hit by a car, you could have an aneurysm, you could be struck by lightning, you could be crushed by a vending machine if you're near one. There's nothing that necessitates or guarantees a longer life. It's just likely that you will have a better potential outcome when all-cause mortality is considered in a vegan diet versus a carnivorous diet, for sure.
If I eat a meat-based diet or a diet that...
You will live longer, possibly being that you're not murdered or otherwise taken out of your life earlier via some external forces. All-cause mortality is the rate limiting factor, and we seem to find that all causes of mortality seem to be in favor in one side more than the other.
Contains meat.
Meat raises a significant contribution of all factors that lead to an early death.
Oh, everybody thinks this is proven because of the blue zones.
I don't think that. I think that due to all of the scientific and empirical evidence that would otherwise prove that.
If you currently believe that the blue zones mythology is true.
Mythology is true?
Just ask ChatGPT or your favorite AI, what are all the assumptions that the Blue Zones author made, and how have these things been...
Again, this is talking about blue zones. This is not talking about empirically. Let's go through high meat intake. Meta-analysis and prospective cohorts show that higher consumption of red and especially processed meat is associated with an increased all-cause mortality. A pooled analysis found that the highest meat intake categories had a higher mortality risk than those in lowest categories. Processed meat shows a stronger association with mortality than unprocessed meat in many analyses, with hazard ratios for processed meat and all-cause mortality in an elevated meta-analysis. Dose response patterns. Several large observational studies indicate that the increases in red meat intake over time are associated with higher subsequent mortality risk across diverse populations. In cohort studies with repeated dietary measures, substituting other protein sources, e.g. fish, legumes, nuts, and whole grains, for red meat was linked to lower total and cause-specific mortality risk. Long-term high consumption of red and especially processed meats is associated with moderately increased all-cause risk of mortality, cardiovascular, and subcancer mortality in many cohorts. This pattern is not universal across all populations, e.g. some Asian cohorts with lower absolute meat intake show weaker associations with the overall trend, and accumulated epidemiological evidence points towards an increased risk of higher meat intake in many Western populations. Plant-based diet patterns, lower body weight and adiposity, improved blood lipid profiles, lower blood pressure, reduced risk of type 2 diabetes, favorable cardiovascular risk profiles. These benefits likely contribute to mortality associated in some studies, though plant diet followers may adopt other healthy behaviors. High meat diet pattern. Higher red and processed meat consumption is commonly associated to higher LDL cholesterol, higher blood pressure and inflammation markers, increased insulin resistance, and an increased risk of cardiometabolic disease in many cohorts, which influence mortality risks. Adequately planned plant-based diets. Similar or lower risk. Benefits. Stronger for whole food, nutrient-rich diets. Processed plant diets can be worse. Typically, high processed red meat intake. Higher risk in many cohorts, especially for processed meats when long-term health high intake. Causality and association. Most of the evidence comes from perspective of observational studies which show association without definitive causation. Lifestyle co-founders. Physical activity, smoking, socioeconomic direction, body composition influence both diet and mortality outcomes. Heterogeneity by population and preparation. Effects vary by absolute intake levels, cooking methods, and cultural dietary patterns. Plant-based diets, mortality. Some studies show reduced all-cause mortality, where others find no significant difference after adjustment. Healthy plant-based patterns link to substantially lower all-cause and cardiovascular mortality risk, whereas unhealthy plant diets may increase risk. That's very true. If you eat a bunch of junk, you're going to be much worse off than somebody who's actually eating relatively nutritious food. Red and processed meat intake is positively associated with all-cause and cause-specific mortality and large meta-analysis. Cohort studies changing meat consumption over the correlation of mortality risk in large prospective studies. Qualitative risk estimates, yes, for sure, do that. The qualitative scientific estimation of large cohorts and meta-analysis showing that dietary patterns are related to all-cause mortality. 15% lower risk of all-cause mortality compared with the lowest adherence group. Healthy plant-based diet specifically showed a similar less than 14% lower mortality risk. In contrast, an unhealthy plant-based index, high processed refined plant foods, is associated with a less than 20% higher mortality risk. This indicates that diet quality matters. Nutrient-dense plant patterns are associated with lower mortality, while poor plant diets can have the opposite association. Another meta-analysis combining 12 cohort studies found that in those highest categories added adherence, less than 10% lower all-cause mortality than those in the lowest category, and the associated with even stronger for coronary heart disease and mortality. Risk per serving of processed meat. A large dose response meta-analysis of prospective cohorts, 150,000 included, reported that a traditional daily serving of processed meat, which is less than 50 grams a day, was associated with a 15% higher all-cause mortality risk, 15% higher cardiovascular mortality risk, and an 8% higher cancer mortality risk. Total and unprocessed red meat. Unprocessed red meat alone do not significantly statistically increase the mortality across all cohorts, but in U.S. populations specifically, each additional serving of unprocessed red meat was associated with a higher all-cause mortality, which was about 1.5 per serve. Total meat intake, red and processed, was associated with a 17% higher all-cause mortality rate, 90% higher cardiovascular mortality, and 12% cancer mortality. What these numbers mean: healthy plant-based diets have a 10 to 15% lower risk of death from all causes compared to low adherence, and then unhealthy plant patterns, higher mortality risk versus high-quality plant patterns. Higher meat intake, especially processed, extra daily processed meat up to 15%, higher risk from any cause. Total meat patterns show that elevated similar risk and trends in many cohorts. These are association, not proof and cause effect relationships, adjustments made in most analyses for age, smoking, exercise, body weight, etc. Mortality associations are strongest where high processed meat intake or low plant intake occur with other unhealthy behaviors. So yes, generally speaking, we're not looking at things like blue zones. We're looking at qualitative data saying that, yeah, if you're going to have plant-based foods and you're going to have those versus red meats, plant-based foods win.
Just proven. Sorry, Dan Buettner, but yeah, no.
You're asking the wrong questions, and you're leading to other answers based on wrong questions. You're strawmanning your own points.
Hey, I was good.
That whole thing is a big red herring. Like, well, are vegans healthier than carnivores? Or, well, we won't even ask if they're healthier. Just, I'm going to live longer, right? Well, people that are vegan that think that, it's because of the blue zones. But look at the blue zone doctors. So, based on that, no, it's not, because the blue zone's a bunch of junk. It's like, I've never even heard of that nonsense. It's looking at the data that would otherwise indicate that, yeah, it is far more healthful to be in such a position.
Make it very obvious that you made a lot of assumptions, and I think
You're making way too many assumptions. You're getting way too casual about this. Like, I'm not even going to go back to my previous point. I'm going to be nice to you and cut that out. But we know that you have a history of being very fucking sloppy with all that you do. So knock that shit off, Ken.
Dan Buettner did this with good intentions. I think he believes that a plant-based diet is best. But he cherry-picked all his data. He cherry-picked the places he went.
You're cherry-picking all your fucking questions. You're not even verifying the shit that you're saying is true half the time, you dumb fuck.
He cherry-picked the people he talked to. He did what any good salesman would do. He tried.
Look who's talking, you fucking snake oil salesman. You're sitting here fucking saying all this dumb shit trying to get people on the fucking carnivore train when your fucking dumbass website has all this bullshit.
To make the sale, and I don't blame him for that, but I also don't want it to...
Yeah, you can't blame him for that because it's the exact dumb fucking shit you're doing.
...make you have less than optimal health. And if
you are, by promoting this diet, you're certainly having people have less than optimal health as a result of your dumbass fucking views.
Believe the Blue Zones myth.
No one needs to believe the Blue Zones myth. We should look at scientific data that otherwise shows to us that it is markedly better to be in the plant category than it is to be in the animal exploitation industry. And even above and beyond that, first off, check it yourself, exclamation marks. We're not going to go through and get your series of questions that you're leading to these other things by saying, oh, well, yeah, that's true. Oh, all these things are true. You're drawing lines to where they don't necessarily connect, and you're trying to use this as like a check it yourself. I'm just preaching the truth. These things don't follow, and you're using fuzzy wording and hazy logic to try to justify your conclusions.
You will have less than optimal health, and you'll have a diet that is deficient in many, many nutrients.
It's not deficient in many, many nutrients. It would just be more annoying to get most of them, and you can, again, take a supplement. Take a supplement. It's genuinely not that difficult.
There is no proof that you live longer on a plant-based diet.
Statistically speaking, you are much more likely to live longer on an adequately planned vegan diet.
Any of the longitudinal studies that attempt to show that are confounded by so many different variables.
Yes, they're confounded by so many variables because people do invariably different things. Some people smoke, some people are overweight, some people don't exercise and aren't overweight, some people live in places with environmental toxins, some people have poor working conditions, some people have X and Y and Z reasons. Statistically speaking, through all of these other vectors, though, we know that things that otherwise prevent from chronic illness and diseases typically seem to be the case that, oh, well, if these are likely to prevent them, that means that I'm likely not to die from them. And if there's a higher likelihood that I don't get these things, then a higher likelihood that I don't die from these things, then surely that means that I am also likely to live longer because I have pushed back or knocked back some of these things. Now, again, you could just be shot in the face. You could just randomly get hit by a bus. You could randomly X and Y and Z and then end your life prematurely. For sure. But that doesn't mean that these are less than healthful options.
That are impossible to correct for.
Now, and then they also talk about how they do correct for some of these things like age, BMI, smoking, and level of exercise and activity.
Now, remember, anything I say in this video, you can type in to chat.
I just did.
GPT and say, hey, Dr. Barry on YouTube said the following. Is that true or not true? And it will tell the truth.
Because you're asking us to type in questions that don't remediate the qualms that are generated by your previous statement at all.
Because you put the prompt in that said, I don't care what's the popular opinion.
Yeah, and it doesn't care. You're going to ask it a red herring. You're going to straw man this position. You're going to find some way to weasel out of the responsibility. Like, for example, your previous statements about, well, is spinach better than blank, or is blank better than blank? In what regard? In what regard are we defining better? In optimal for health. Define optimal for health. Well, clearly it means like living longer. Okay, so you can live longer on an iron lung, or you can live longer by putting your body in near stasis and having a tube IV feed you. You can be put in a medically induced coma and likely live much longer than you would otherwise. Does that mean that that's an optimal way to live your life? To live your life devoid of anything? No, it's not. So, therefore, you need to clarify your terms. I can't believe I have to fucking spell this out again. This is fucking ridiculous.
I don't care what's politically correct.
Not to be that guy, but I can just look at you and tell that you really don't care about political correctness. I'm gonna stop right there. Oh man, I can't. No, I'm not gonna say what I want to say. I actually do have, some modicum of decorum. Yeah, so I guess I don't have that much decorum. I'm really fucking furious that I've had to sit here and debunk a bunch of your bullshit for this long. Like I'm gonna have to trim down the part about the whole fucking iron thing, and I'll make it the strongest version of this possible. I'll make the iron part where it's just, this went on for 45 minutes. Essentially, for guys, it's not as big a concern, but for women, just take a supplement because otherwise it would be a real pain to get it. I'll steelman that for you. I'll make that the strongest part of your argument just because I was so ostensibly rude in this last part. For sure. You can have that little gotcha, buddy. You can be like, oh, look at that. Even the vegans agree iron's an issue. It's not, because you can take a supplement. But I'll give you that little cookie very early on so you can fixate on that and be like, I got him, boys. Gotcha. Look at that. Vegans are not healthy. Gotcha. Despite the fact that we have all this evidence showing that all your shit's a bunch of fucking malarkey.
Popular influencers say, I want to know your answer based on physiology, anatomy, and biochemistry.
Yeah, and I just did all of that for you in like the past 2 hours.
Then that cuts through all the BS.
And you've been giving me way too much fucking BS that I've had to fucking plug through, for sure.
ChatGPT is just going to give you the answer based on, science.
That thing that you're really fucking afraid of, apparently.
Yeah, because that's important.
It is, and you should go back and revise that, because the fact that you think that we can't get things like kerosene, carnitine, creatine, etc. is befuddling the fuck out of me, to be quite honest with you. The fact that you think that we need those things, but you're smart enough to know that the buzzwords like essential and saying that carbs aren't essential and fiber's not essential, you can deduce those nuances very easily, but you can't put together that our body can make things like cholesterol and everything else endogenously is just hysterical to me. You're very much selectively choosing what you believe in. Fucking crook.
Number 14. Does B12 actually come from the...
Does B12 actually come from dirt? Do you want to hear about the... Oh, well, it comes from bacteria, and it's only generated in these parts of the world, and based off of that, and then based off of all of these, and not through the fermentation of your gut, but also through very small trace amounts of these bacteria and X and Y and Z that are grown in labs nowadays, that we actually don't get that much B12 because it only comes from specific certain regions and
soil and not from meat. Therefore, if I eat my vegetables dirty, won't I get plenty of vitamin B12?
Even if that was the only way to get vitamin B12 through a whole diet, I would not recommend eating dirt. I would largely recommend you take a supplement, or you do what the mediators do when they get a really bad case of B12 deficiency and they know for certain it's not anything like precocious anemia or anything else masking B12 deficiency, that you just get the injection of it and then you'd be perfectly fine. But if you don't want to do that and you don't want to do fortified food, just take a dietary supplement and make sure you get one that is in sufficient quantity for you, for sure, whatever.
So this is false. B12 is actually made by bacteria.
For the next 2 minutes, I'm going to let him riff on B12. I'm like this close to just having a cigarette.
And the reason that meat is so full of B12, is, especially in ruminants, is they're full of bacteria that make B12 and then their body absorbs it. Plants don't do that at all. No plant contains any vitamin B12 at all, anywhere on any continent of planet Earth. Maybe on other planets, but not on Earth. So if you're willing to roll your vegetables around in dirt and poop and then eat them like that, you can probably get enough B12 that way. But if you are like most people and you prefer your vegetables washed, then you're not going to get any B12 whatsoever from any plant. Also, don't eat dirt. It's not good for you. God did make dirt, and dirt don't hurt, but just don't eat dirt for B12. Don't take a supplement for B12.
That shit caught me so off guard. Dirt don't hurt. I can tell you're from the sticks too, buddy. This shit. That's great. Dirt don't hurt.
Don't take a supplement for B12. Just eat.
Take a supplement for B12.
Some meat.
Don't eat meat. And first off, don't eat animal flesh for any reason.
It's how we're designed.
No.
And finally, number 15, are plants the only source of antioxidants in the human diet? Many people believe that you must eat your plants, your leafy greens,
in the human diet. I gotta get through your dumbass ebook and read about the proper human diet, don't I? If I want to believe your mythology.
rainbow of different colors of vegetables to get all the antioxidants you need. First of all, antioxidants are not essential, meaning that
here we go about the whole essential word.
You can make your own and you don't need to get.
So you understand the concept of endogenous production of things that would otherwise prevent again. So if you understand the idea of endogenous production, why are you making a bitch fit about cholesterol and carnitine and carnosine and creatine?
Any from your diet, and you won't die if you don't eat any antioxidants in your diet.
Just checking something here. I want to let the computer bot with the PhD level of superintelligence verify what I'm about to say here, but it seems to me like it'd be quite caustic to have 0 exogenous antioxidants within our human circulatory system via the digestion and absorption of these antioxidants. Antioxidants neutralize reactive oxidant species and protect cell, tissue, and DNA from oxidative damage. Without sufficient antioxidant, oxidative stress increases, contributing to cellular dysfunction, chronic disease risk, and accelerating aging. Reactive oxidant species, ROS, accumulate without antioxidants like vitamin C, vitamin E, carotenoids, and polyphenols. DNA damage and mutations. Increased oxidative stress can cause mutations, repair functions, and potentially raise cancer risk. Protein oxidation. Enzymes, receptors, and structural proteins can lose function. Cell membranes and LDL, which is your lipoproteins, not your VLDL, which is very low density proteins, or your kilomicrons, damage and increasing atherosclerosis. Antioxidants like vitamin C and selenium support immune cell functions. The deficiencies can lead to reduced white blood cell activity, which is very important for things like preventing infection and illness, impaired pathogen clearance, and greater susceptibility to infection. Oxidized LDL contributes to plaque formation, which increases atherosclerosis, coronary heart artery disease. Lower antioxidant status correlates with higher systemic inflammation, but elevated CRP and IL-6. Multiple studies, vitamin E deficiency can impair vascular and endothelial function. Good thing that vitamin A, D, and E, and K come from animal products, so that's going to be his source for those antioxidants. Things like selenium can also be found in muscle tissue to some degree as well. Neurological effects. Brain tissue is highly sensitive to oxidative stress. Chronic deficiencies may contribute to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, cognitive decline, and impaired neurotransmitter function. Skin and tissue aging. Antioxidants prevent collagen and elastin breakdown, slowing aging and maintaining tissue integrity. Deficiency can accelerate wrinkle sagging and delay without wound healing. Cancer risk. Chronic oxidative stress damages DNA and promotes mutations. Low dietary antioxidant intake is associated with a higher risk of cancers, particularly gastrointestinal and lung cancers. Evidence is strongest for whole food antioxidants rather than supplements. And for eye health, retinoids like lutein, xanthine, and beta carotene protect the retina. Crazy. Beta carotene is worthless. Nobody can take that, right? You want to get the full vitamin A. Deficiency increases risk of macular degeneration and cataracts. Even if macronutrients are sufficiently dry, completely devoid of antioxidants, oxidative stress, which is a major contributor to chronic disease, aging, and immune functions. Whole food antioxidants, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds in some spices are far more protective. Yeah, cinnamon and saffron. I'll make a video about them on probably veganism instead of Damatosade. Damatosade I'll keep like on the periphery of everything, but yeah, certainly should be the case where people are more aware of things like cinnamon. I also have a However Someone Works on curcumin and some other places as well. If you want to be a visual oxidative stress cascade diagram, no thank you. Don't need that. I want to hear his sources of them. It's probably going to be things like liver, probably going to be some things like organ meats.
You can look that up and verify that on your favorite AI. So, does animal flesh, does that contain antioxidants? Why, yes it does.
I also love the fact that he's like looking down at this little list that he's written for like all these things to cover them. Buddy, like I got 1, 2, 3. I got a Pepsi here. Love Pepsi. Oh, bad vegan diet. I don't care. I always have an energy drink. Bro, I'm riffing this off the fucking top of my head for like 95% of this bullshit. And you gotta write shit down and fucking structure everything out. You gotta like figure things out. No, the fact that you have to jot all this down and cover all these things and not just riff on it, like whisk back and forward from what you've memorized, is to me kind of telling. But like, what are you trying to structure? You can just pause it out the questions, and then like if you want to write down your questions, yeah, for sure, write that shit out and then go for it. The only time I'm ever going to do anything akin to like a script is for my YouTube shorts, and I fucking hate them because they seem so insincere and non-casual, and you can certainly tell that I'm reading off of a script, but if you can't even get your fucking answers right, I'm like, well, these organ meats, like this and that and this and that, like what, shouldn't you know the things are things that you frequently, constantly, non-stop eat every single day? Like, to me, that's the most ludicrous and egregious display of someone just puppeting out answers. Like, you're pantomiming the knowledge of everything that you have. And you know what, and even in circumstances where I'm like, you know what, it would just be totally unreasonable for somebody to have to go through and do X and Y and Z and element of P and blah 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 blah, because I just won't want to do that. Like, for example, with the whole thing about like, oh yeah, you know, you could do the hemp seeds with like vitamin C with some lentils, and you could do some black beans, you could do a burrito for this and that and this and that, and you could get relatively close if you have all the worst contributing factors for all the conversion factors for iron if you're a lady. But honestly, that'd be like fucking 1,400 calories, and most people don't want to do that, and it's also kind of annoying because even though there are some normative populations that would otherwise need that, just take a supplement and it'll be much easier, and you don't need to only get your iron sources from here. It's very easy just to otherwise do that. And even in circumstances like that, I'm just like, you know what, I could theoretically think of like a million different ways in which we could do this, but it's just stupid. And even things like, I'm like, oh, flaxseed oil, just take flaxseed oil. Even when we're adjusting with things like the lowest conversion factors from like the worst categories for all of these things that otherwise would just have some massive impact on the deleterious nature, I'm like, you know what, just fuck it. At that point, don't even worry about that. Just get your flaxseed oil for that, and if you're really concerned about this, get a fucking algae oil. It's that easy. And when I'm presenting that information, I can just change to it. Why? Because I'm willing to learn from it. But even then, if someone would be like, well, no, actually, that's a really poor conversion factor for this and this and this and that and this and that, well, then you take a vegan alternative to that fish oil supplement you're going to be taking. If you don't want to take a fish, it's fine. Easy. It's like that fucking simple. And it is crazy if you're like, oh, just go back to the supplement because it has both. But no, if you want to get like a whole foods version of that, or like a food addition in a diet that you're going to be using in your food regardless, then yeah, you could just do that. You could just do algae oil and with your flax oil, and you're good on both, and it's fine. Whatever, for sure. But no, like, you're sitting here and just like, there's these foods here that has you know, animal flesh does contain antioxidants. It's going to be things probably like liver because it has vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin D, vitamin K, those things that you don't have. Ruminant species also have more of things like zinc, and there's going to be trace minerals and elements that otherwise are going to have some impact on those things as well. And also on top of that, if you have sardines, they're going to be rich in this because they also have eyes, which means you're also going to have some other trace minerals.
It contains something called glutathione. You may have heard of
Glutathione is something that, oh my fucking Christ. Okay. Glutathione. So the way that you can endogenously create glutathione, if you have something like cysteine, or let's say you take a supplement and we make it really, really easy. Now, if you have something like NAC, which is N-acetylcysteine, now if you have N-acetylcysteine, it becomes deacetylated to become cysteine. If you have cysteine, it's broken down into glutathione. Glutathione then works as an anti-inflammatory. But again, if you don't want to take NAC and you just want to have cysteine-rich foods, you can do that. You can have plant foods that have cysteine, you can break down cysteine, and you can endogenously produce your own. Now, some people don't want to use NAC, or they don't want to do these things, so then they'll have a form of cysteine that is bonded in such a way that it is going to break down and then naturally endogenously bolster the amount of glutathione that you have. You can also just do a glutathione injection as well. It's not necessary to get this from animals. Now, the fact that you're eating animals for glutathione is a vector that carnivore people are probably going to do, but it is entirely not necessary.
that. It is the most powerful antioxidant in the world for human beings. Meat also contains taurine.
I have a whole video on taurine as well. You can go look that up. It's on Damon Desade.
Carnosine, carnitine, and
Carnosine, carnitine, and are you gonna say creatine?
coenzyme Q10.
CoQ10. I have CoQ10 on the howeverysupplementworks.com blog as well.
I hope that this video has helped you.
This video has given me a headache.
You are a vegan, please don't take offense at this.
I am taking offense at your flagrant misunderstanding of very basic, fundamental scientific fact. I don't have to take offense to the fact that you said that most vegans are sickly. Again, I took steroids to be a little bit bigger than most vegans. I have since discontinued my egregious use of steroids, and it does not bother me when people make comments on my appearance at all.
Yes, I am not trying to offend you.
You're offending science by being so objectively wrong.
I'm not trying to beat you down. I'm not trying to defeat you.
You're defeating yourself. My God. Oh my God, this is beyond ridiculous. I'm not trying to defeat you. I'm just trying to show you the light and the way of God.
I'm trying to educate you and help you.
You're not trying to educate me. If anything, you've given me more disinformation that I've made aware of, that there are people who legitimately think this is good selling points when a lot of what you've been said is disproven.
Because you are Homo sapiens sapien. You are
Homo sapiens.
The carnivore diet. It is the most powerful antioxidant. Excellent antioxidants. Now, I hope.
And by the way, CoQ10 was found in the heart, by the way. I'm like 90. Actually, hold on a minute. Let me go into the blog. I will just blur this out. It's like 99% done. Let me go to my thing here. Oh, I've got a lot of questions and a lot of comments. I guarantee you a bunch of. Oh yeah, last modified on the second month. So February 21st is the last time I was working on this one. Cookie 10. It is like almost done. There's a strong claim taken behind it. Yeah, it's most fitness gurus being essential. Yeah, I like how like it's touted by the fitness and longevity gurus as being absolutely essential to health and longevity. Yeah, so there's a bunch of this where we have the JSSN where it has people that CoQ10 have lower exercise-induced muscular damage, quicker recovery times. I don't think it's as important as things like creatine would otherwise be able to, but it certainly does have a bunch of it as well. So we'll scoop on this on howeversupplementworks.com probably in like a week when I get just a little bit more free time to actually do more on this website. I also have veganism where I have to do a lot of stuff. I also have freefitnessinformation.com where I have to do a bunch of stuff, and I also have Mindless Sneezy where I also do a bunch of stuff. I also have the David and Sage YouTube channel where I have to do a bunch of stuff. I also have like 4 other YouTube projects with other goths that I'm working on. So there's certainly quite a bit on my plate, as well as doing videos like this where I have to fucking shit on these people. So it is a lot on my plate alongside working a full-time job as well as having a life. My anniversary is coming up, so I am a little bit short on time, believe it or not. So yeah, a bit difficult to juggle everything, but I am certainly trying to do my best for that. So for sure. Anyway, that is all. You now have a tool to verify or debunk these beliefs, and I can't believe that you would give that to everybody considering how easy it is to debunk all of your claims. You're feel free to nitpick and cherry pick, and especially the things that I said about like meat and causing inflammation. You can certainly make the claim that, well, you're saying that meat does this, but meat inherently by itself does not actually reduce X, Y, and Z, or meat itself does not actually produce inflammation. It can just increase the scores in which we find that in some people it maybe possibly increases inflammation markers in and of itself, but no, that's also wrong because again, as I alluded to earlier, mechanistically it does lead to these things. So by far just absolutely ludicrous to think that you would otherwise have any sort of stand against that. But if you want to and try to further elucidate against that, you are more than welcome to, but I doubt that you would be able to find a generatively good answer. And you can ask GTP to help give you the best argument against it, and then when you give me that ChatGPT response, I can also decimate that very effortlessly. And again, if you want to clarify any of your other positions where you used hazy or fuzzy wording and then try to pop in something else, or if you just want to maybe, possibly, potentially, if you're up for it, reword some of your questions and not snake them away with other bullshit to try to put people into your subversive tactics, I can also debate that. If you also just want to debate live, I will be very happy to do that, and we can have a good back and forth based on all these things, because I don't think that you actually have the capacity to debate. So no, you're fundamentally wrong on a myriad of things, and I just cannot imagine that you are going to try to sit here and push this dumbass fucking propaganda. It is ludicrous.